Welcome back. We are moving into our fourth pack for our eventual Commander Legends Winston draft. Once again, we are making these packs by putting the mana costs and the card types of the cards from a random MTG Gen Commander Legends pack into Urza's AI, and we are giving it a text prompt of sort of the deck name field is what Urza's AI calls it. We are just using generic themes, whatever we feel like. For this pack, the theme is Skybridge Populations. I don't know why. I don't know why that's the theme. That's just what I came up with. Don't think about it too much. I thought populate's an interesting theme, like keyword. Maybe we can do something with that. Then I remembered Skybridge existed. I don't know. I don't think about these things that much. This is just where we are. With that said, let's take a look at our first card. Voldaren Gunslinger is a 4-mana 2/2 red orc warrior. It has first strike and for red and tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Okay, 4 mana seems a little expensive for this effect, but cool. I'm into it. I like being able to loot. I like being an orc warrior. Yeah. Voldaren, if I recall correctly, is one of the families of vampires in Innistrad. So it does seem weird to be an orc warrior, but sure, why not? Voldaren's pack isn't large enough to carry all of his toys. So Voldaren is a person, according to the flavor text. That's interesting. What would a Voldaren Gunslinger then be if Voldaren is a I'm not going to think about it too much, and I'm going to move on to card 2. Harvester Drake is a 8-mana, 4/7 blue legendary creature Drake. This sounds like a very expensive commander. Holy crap, okay. It has flying, and when Harvester Drake enters the battlefield, each opponent loses life equal to Harvester Drake's power. Interesting. It's on ETB. Now, recently, as a recording of this, with the Brothers War, we saw the prototype mechanic, which is a really interesting usage of basically this exact effect, right? Where it's like you could cast a spell that's really expensive and get a big effect, or you could cast the same spell for less. And the way that it scales is that the effect is based off of the power of the creature entering the battlefield, and the prototype version has less power. Here, it's just always going to be 4. I guess if you had something that said, like... No, if it was... I'm not sure. If you had multiple, like, when a creature enters the battlefield, you would stack those triggers, right? I think so. When this enters the battlefield, lose life, does it decide the amount of life you're losing when it adds to the stack or when it leaves the stack? I think it's when it goes on to when it leaves the stack. Not 100% sure. Either way, probably just not worth it. Kind of disappointing card for our legendary. And it's not even a very legendary name. Harvester Drake? Nah, you can do better. But this brings us to, of course, our customary, how am I dealing with rerolls for this set? For this series of packs, again, this is just the packs that will be used in an eventual draft. This is not a full set. We are leaving cards as is. We're only rerolling them if they are fundamentally broken according to the game's rules, not according to power level. So, unfortunately, Harvester Drake, you're in. If she sees more than birds... No. If she sees more birds, she thinks she sees more fish. That sounds right. That sounds like something that Drake would do. Cunning Pilferer is a 3-mana 1/2 artifact creature Drake. Another Drake. Interesting. It has flying, and whenever Cunning Pilferer attacks, another target creature can't block this turn. That's rad. Wow. Okay. I mean, it's only a 1/2, so it's not doing a lot of damage, but if you can buff this thing, that's close to unblockable. You're flying, you say your opponent's only flyer can't block. This is rad. I like this. Oh, I didn't read the flavor text. It lives to devour, to disassemble, and to learn. That's nice. Rothian Stronghold is a land. Okay, what you're doing land-wise, Urza's Rothian Stronghold is a land. As long as Rothian lands remain under the control of the Aether, they will remain dangerous to invaders. In the last pack, there was like a functioning land on the first try, and it just got my hopes up. We might be here a while. Oh no. For some reason, Urza AI says, oh, you want me to make a land? Let me just write some poetry instead. It's wild, which is kind of cool. Because one time I did try and see if Urza AI could like make up cards for not Magic, like make up its own card game. It did not, for the record. But this is the kind of thing where it's just like, oh yeah, as long as Rathian lands remain under the control of the Aether, they will remain dangerous to invaders. Yeah, you know what that means. That all means something in this fictional game that's not Magic the Gathering, right? Here nothing ever dies, or so we are told. Come and take a look for yourself. Rathian Camp Sign. Alright, you get a second shot. Okay! Ravager's Realm is a colorless land, like all lands. It taps to add colorless, or you can tap to add red or green. So it taps to add red or green. I guess all colorless if that matters. It just usually doesn't. Which just makes it a very strong land with no downside. Which is fine. I don't care. There are more broken things than a land that doesn't come into play tapped. Ravagers prey on the ruins of civilizations. They ignore defenders and do not stop to loot gold and silver. Instead, they simply tear apart those who stand in their way. I was actually having a conversation about, like, designing custom lands and, like, what is appropriate. And it's weird, right? Like, this doesn't seem too strong to me, but just because of precedent of, like, what a land can do, it needs some kind of downside to, like technically. It's wild. I guess there's technically the downside is that it's not, like, it doesn't have the land types or something, but, like, that feels pretty minor. I don't know. But in a draft environment where you can only get one of these anyway, and you have to draft it, I think that's fine. You know, we're not in Constructed where you can have 4 of these in your deck and be ultra consistent or anything. Cool. Ooh, that was fast. There we go. Squadron Stalker is a 3-mana 2/2 white human scout. It has flying, and Squadron Stalker attacks each combat if able. To me, this is one of those things where it's you look at a card and you go, well, that's a cool card of a griffin, right? And then you look at the type line and you realize that, oh, this is a human scout that's riding a griffin. And the griffin just, like, doesn't get acknowledged at all in the card anywhere other than the picture. Yeah. That's what this reminds me of. The first scout in the Legion doesn't necessarily have the most sophisticated weaponry. Sometimes it's all you need. Brigadier Lucerco. Cool. Alright, yeah. Flying. Attacks is combat available. I'd run it in limited. Evankar is a 3-mana 1/3 black creature. It's a human cleric. Tap, add black. Cool. It's a very expensive mana dork, which is probably fine in black. I guess not really, but whatever, it's fine. Mist Tyrant Cleric is a 5-mana 3/3 black creature vampire cleric. When Mist Tyrant Cleric enters the battlefield, target opponent discards a card. Cool. I think this is overcosted. 5 mana for a 3/3 that discards an ETB seems weak to me, but not unreasonably weak. I think this card is fine. I'm always surprised at how, like, there was a card that was very similar to this not that long ago. I think I remember seeing it in, like, I don't know, Midnight Hunt maybe, or Crimson Vow. I don't know. It's still standard legal, I think. The one I'm thinking of. Corrupt Official, I guess. And every time I look at the card, I'm surprised at how expensive it is. Because just in my mind, this isn't that big of an ETB effect. So I probably just don't know how to evaluate it. As their family is now interred, the elves who returned to their ancestral home weave cloth that never quite fits, leading to elvish laughter at the mist tyrant's jest. Alright, cool. Liminal Eclipse is a 4-mana black sorcery. Choose a non-land card name. Create a 4/4 black and green barrier creature token. Its activated abilities can't be activated unless you control a swamp. Okay, what is this? This is a 4-mana 4/4. That's it. And it's got a bunch of other bells and whistles, but I don't think any of it is fundamentally broken. It's just dumb. Like, it's just a 4-mana 4/4. It's sorcery speed. It's not even instant. And if it was, it could have had flash. But yeah, right? Is choose a non-land card name. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It's not like it's an additional cost. It's just it doesn't matter. Create a 4/4 black and green barrier. I kind of into barrier as a creature. The thing is that tokens, if they're not given a name, if it's not like create a token that's named, like it means their name is barrier and also their creature type is barrier. Which is ridiculous because wall is already a creature type. There doesn't need to be both barrier and wall, which is excellent. And then its activated abilities can't be activated unless you control a swamp. I suppose if barrier was like a predefined token, which obviously it's not, but if it were, you could predefine it. Like you could say, create a treasure. Its activated abilities can't be activated unless you control a swamp. You could do that, right? You could totally do that because a treasure has predefined activated abilities, which is tapping and sacking and making mana. That would be kind of cool, actually. I'd be interested in that. But, yeah. Here, it's just a 4/4. You can't activate its abilities. It does not have any anyway, so it doesn't matter. Again, we are not rerolling power level. I talked about this too long. I apologize. Welcome to Liminal Eclipse. May the Phyrexians be your only companions. Spinebreaker Proverb. I think proverb was the term I was thinking of earlier, and I couldn't think of it. Oh well. Warping Fate is a 2-mana blue sorcery. Target player draws a card. Draw a card. Huh. Sorcery speed, 2 mana, draw 2. But if you wanted to, you could split up the draw. Like if you were playing Battle Bond or something. Or, I don't know, Commander. Yeah, this is kind of cool. I'm into this. This sounds fun. Yeah, okay. I like it. Yeah. Our souls cannot bear the truth. Also, it's worth pointing out that there's a decent number of effects that are like when you draw a card, X happens. Or when you draw one or more card, I guess is more accurate to say, because this, if you said draw 2 cards, the original thing, when you draw a card, would trigger twice. But if it said draw one or more card, it would only trigger once if this was drawing 2. But since it's drawing 1, then drawing 1, I think it would activate twice. We haven't seen anything that has that trigger, but I don't know. It just felt relevant. Whatever. Tandem Affliction is a 3-mana red enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets -4, -0, and is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. Huh! I don't think this card is good, but I do like the flavor of like, oh yeah, no, this thing is diseased and dead and dying and is a zombie now. Okay. The child took one hand, then the other, leaving them bound together. Ugh. Huh. Alright. Ooh, that was fast. Bloodlord Lieutenant is a 2-mana, 1/1 red creature human soldier with vigilance. For generic and red, attacking creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. Okay, interesting. So, this is like so it's just like we previously saw in the last pack, a commander that could give all of your creatures +1/+0. I think it was also for 2 red, or like a generic and red, 2 mana. And it's like, okay, expensive fire breathing, but hits all of your creatures. And what's interesting is that that is stronger than what this is, because this, usually you're going to be activating that ability while attacking anyway. So it's not a huge deal that you can't do it other times. But it does mean that you can't do it in response for blocking, right? You can't say, I'm going to block you and use fire breathing so that we trade, right? That's not an option with this card. So I think that's a really interesting restriction. It's not a very strong restriction. It's a pretty mild restriction, but it is a notable one. I fought my brother's death to save this world. Dang, who said that? Like, Bloodlord Lieutenant's not a legendary. They're no one special. They didn't get to fight their brother's death to save the world. Maybe every soldier goes through that. Wow. That's amazing. Olenna, Disciple of Murmurs. Disciple of Murmurs? That's such a good name! Oh, that's beautiful! Olenna, Disciple of Murmurs is a 5-mana, 2/3, green and blue legendary creature Merfolk Shaman. Ooh! At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on Olenna, Disciple of Murmurs. And each other merfolk you control. It's a merfolk commander. Oh, cool. When Olenna dies, return up to X +1/+1 counters you control to the battlefield, where X is the number of merfolk you control. Dang it! Crap! Do I have to re-roll this? This was already a cool card. But it's telling you to do something you can't do. Does it simply fail because you can't do it? Or is this reroll territory? Return up to X +1/+1 counters you control. You can't return a counter to the battlefield. That doesn't mean anything. I'm so sad. My vision has expanded, and I can see the real threat to the world. I think according to my rules, I need to re-roll this. I won't forget you, Disciple of Murmurs. That's so cool. What a fun take on, like, a merfolk lord, right? It's not that it's all your merfolk get +1/+1. It's every turn they get an additional +1/+1, but also they have to be there during your upkeep. If you play them, you know, after your upkeep, or if you play this card, it doesn't onboard buff all your creatures. But the +1/+1 stick around if Olenna dies. Like, it's so cool. Just when Olenna dies, you have to return +1/+1 counters to the battlefield. It doesn't mean you can't. You can't do that. Look, maybe it'll be better. Maybe it'll be an even cooler card. It doesn't even have a legendary name. Centaur Devotee is a 5-mana, 3/4 legendary creature insect. It says partner with Teysa. And that is it. It's otherwise vanilla. Now, if Teysa exists, this might be an okay card, right? There's an argument to be made. A really bad argument that I don't really feel like entertaining, but there's an argument to be made that a fully vanilla creature, fully vanilla like commander, would be okay if they could partner with somebody, so that allows you to, like, set your colors. But that's boring. That's dumb. If you're not gonna play the commander, I don't want to just have a figurehead. Her breath may not freeze the heart, but it sure will chill the last drops of courage. I'm breaking my rule and re-rolling this. I mean, I'm not re-rolling it for power level, really. I'm re-rolling it for boring. Meloku the Mooncaller is a 5-mana 0/0 legendary creature frog. Meloku the Mooncaller enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Meloku the Mooncaller. If you don't, sacrifice Meloku the Mooncaller. If X was defined, this card would be cool. It still wouldn't be that interesting because it just gets big. Like, it just gets big. It doesn't do any... I miss Elena. You've said so much with so little. I hope it makes a lot more of a statement. Farok, Heart of the Morns, is a 5-mana, 3/5, green and blue legendary creature dragon with flying. For green and blue, create a 2/2 green insect creature token with flying named Farok, Heart of the Morns. Huh. That is weird and interesting. Yeah, okay. I still miss Elena. I don't think we're, like, here's the thing. We're likely not going to have any merfolk for Elena to be buffing anyway. They probably weren't going to be that strong. They were just cool. Ugh. I need to come up with better rules next time. Come tangle with me, and we shall wrestle a mighty dragon to the ground. Yelena, Sunbringer. Alright, well, Farok, you got in. I'm disappointed. I'm gonna have to draw you, probably. Ugh. Downpour Shoveler is a 2-mana, 1/2 blue creature fish. Sacrifice Downpour Shoveler, add blue. Okay. Yeah, sure. From time to time, Mother Nature forces us to abandon our land in favor of the sea. Now we know what that's like. How? Sailor's Prayer. Okay. Wand of Vek is a 3-mana artifact. As Wand of Vek enters the battlefield, you may reveal an elf card from your hand. If you don't, draw a card. Okay. Tap, add, blue, or white. Blue, red. Red or white. I like this. It's a 3-mana mana rock that can tap for 2 different colors. And it draws you a card on ETB. This is a perfectly reasonable card. Yeah, I like it. Elves watch for such flashes of willpower, which have taught them the value of willpower. Yeah, checks out. I'm hoping we get another legendary. So far we've seen 2 per pack. I don't know if you can see more. I think it's possible, but, you know. Krull Giant is a 3-mana, 3/3 red creature giant. It has vigilance, and for red, Krull Giant gets +1/+0 until end of turn. A lot of fire breathing in this set. Okay. Yeah. Checks out. Let it be known by the simple weight of numbers that I, Krull Giant, will never stop. Krolus Oracle. So, wait. Why would you refer to yourself as Krull Giant? It's not like that's even like a legendary name. And your name's Krolus Oracle. Krolus. Weird. Weird. Siege Machine is a 2-mana artifact. It can tap to add generic, colorless, that's what it's called. And for 2 generic and 2 colorless, which again, or at least is worth pointing out, colorless, when it's a cost, is a specific requirement. You can't substitute any color. So this is not going to happen. For 2 and 2 colorless, and tap, sacrifice Siege Machine. Destroy target attacking creature. I mean, if you had the colorless somehow, there's like lands that make colorless, we've seen them. It's possible. really unlikely, but you know, if it's possible, then yeah, not bad. It's a mana rock that then later, if you need to, you can kill something with it. Cool. When we added the Grand Arena, we forgot the machines. They had been doing the job for a long time. Tuskrock is a 5-mana, 4/3 green creature. Oof. When Tuskrock enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 green oof creature token. Huh. Yeah, it's a 5-mana, 4/3 and 3/3. That's 7/6 worth of stats. That's pretty good. I like it. For anyone who's unaware, oof is a real creature type. I don't know what the thematic through line of them are. They're kind of just like fairies that aren't fairies, I think. Yeah. They flap, sometimes screaming, but mostly just wheezing. Airy Village is a land, snow, forest village. Wow, that sounds like the kind of type line I would have written and been like, come on, Urza's AI, come up with something for a snow forest village. But no, it just decided to do that, and it decided the text is bracket 3 times U/R 7 bracket closed, bracket open 3 times U/R 7 bracket closed. They've brought light to the northern lands, the twilight on the clouds. All right. Lightbreakers is a land. It has reminder text, tap, add blue or red. Now, previously, I have said if reminder text exists unnecessarily, we are simply going to ignore it. It would just save a lot of time re-rolling. As long as we have a blanket rule and we are consistent, then it's fine. So this does not have island or mountain. It does not have anything else. Like, you could theoretically say, like, oh yeah, this has forge as its land type, and therefore forge has blue and red or something. Like, you could make that up. So I would give it the benefit of the doubt if it did have a type, right? Like village. But it does not. So yeah. I think we'll just ignore that line and continue reading. Lightbreakers deals 1 damage to any target. There's no trigger. So it's written like it's an instant or something. Yeah, this doesn't work. An enemy behind every tree. High Alpine is a land. High Alpine enters the battlefield tapped. Add blue or black. This is just a card, and it's not interesting. It's just a real magic card, which is fine. Like, this is draft. You need those sometimes. The wood is fine in the mountains, but in the lowlands, the water is far too clear. All right. Sudden Death is a 3-mana red enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has first strike. It deals combat damage before creatures without first strike. Okay. First strike's a powerful effect. I'm not going to underestimate first strike. If the non-white animals did not drown, their masters would. Weird flavor text, but sure. Brima's Hellion is a 5-mana, 5/3 red creature Hellion. I do like the Hellion creature type. You don't see it that much. Tap. Target creature blocks Brima's Hellion this turn, if able. That's really disappointing. It's a really cool effect. It's just that the cost is tapping. Which means unless you have something that lets you untap this before you then move to combat, or after you declared combat, I guess, it's not really rather relevant. That said, there are cards, not necessarily in this draft, but in general, that say, like, target creature gets +3/+3, untap it, right? Because they're intended that it lets you surprise have a blocker, but you could definitely declare attackers with this before moving to blocks, cast such a pump spell on it, it becomes like an 8/6, and you can then tap it before blockers to force something to block you. Like, that's a lot of hoops to jump through, but you could technically do it, and that's kind of interesting, I guess. It's still a 5-mana 5/3 though, which like isn't great, but also could very well win you a limited game. So I don't know. I don't know. Its coat of pitch and coal smoke, though attractive, does not prevent it from having nightmares. Yeah, most things that make you attractive don't prevent you from having nightmares, turns out. Weird. Well, that brings us to the end of our 4th pack. That was Skybridge Populations. I don't feel like any of that had to do with that theme, but okay. Maybe I'll be more specific next time. Not like lean into themes that Magic has previously established instead of just random words that the AI doesn't know what to do with. That would make sense. Other than that, I need to think of another card. And I feel like, even though we got 2 legendaries, we got our Farok Heart of the Morns, which was disappointing after Elena. I feel like there was a pretty early creature that I just liked, just as a creature. I thought it was cool. Maybe I'll do that. There's Harvester Drake here, which is disappointing, because it's called Harvester Drake. It's like fine. Maybe Tusk Rock. Yeah, drawing oofs are weird. Like, yeah, let's draw Tusk Rock. Tusk Rock sounds great. I did end up going with Tusk Rock. I don't have a great reason, but the idea of drawing an oof and like with big tusks and following the flavor text of like flapping seemed really interesting to me. Originally, I wanted to actually do something relevant to the design of the card, where they show up and they bring another oof with them. So I thought maybe I'd do something cute with like a mother and a smaller one sort of like hiding behind. That is not where we ended up at all, and I don't have a good reason for it. Oofs have very different depictions across all of Magic. For this one, I was looking at Collector Oof as inspiration, with sort of like this big nose and this very like cackly grin. But of course, I looked at the flavor text and saw them talking with them like wheezing, and I thought maybe they are more in pain or something, so their depiction changed dramatically from there, with these big floppy ears and this very unhappy expression. It seemed like that would work pretty well. For this one, I just pull in the lines and I don't do a second take on the inking. This just is the way it is, and it's something. Once I drew in this head and ears and had very much established where the floor was, I realized I didn't really know what their body looked like. So I made them just sort of splooting here with their legs wide and their arms just resting on the ground. I don't know. I did want to add a little bit of fur. With the Collector Oof, you can see like sort of this like frill of fur around their neck and stuff, and I liked that look as being an element that an oof might have. So furry legs and a little fur collar, it was nice. Of course, becoming a green card, I wanted to make this as green as possible. The colors are pretty sickly greens. They're not bright and cheerful. This is a pathetic specimen. And at this point, I kind of realized maybe this isn't the mother bringing their kid in. This is the kid whose mother comes to help. If this was a full card art, I think I'd have something looming in the background or maybe above. With the fur, I wanted to add a little bit of coloration to it. It's not just white highlighting, but a little extra color in there. I do, of course, go in with the white highlighting for consistency along the tusks and the feet and even in the fur, despite already having that two-tone coloration. As for the multiply layer, I still use the same technique, but I didn't just use one color for the entire picture. I mostly picked up the color that I was coloring over with the multiply. That wasn't always the case. With the tusks, it was too light of a color to really do much as a multiply layer, so I did use a different green. for that portion. All in all, they are a suitably pathetic friend that I hope people will enjoy, despite them not having the best day. I hope to see you all in the next one. Have a good night.